Good afternoon. Welcome to the latest Manchester United news on United TV. We're going to be looking at the LIT situation because United posted yesterday that the LIT has undergone back surgery to correct a problem which has kept him out of the football team for what seems like a long time now. And there's a bit of an update on this one. And also, it kind of leads into Manchester United's transfer window as well. Is this going to affect what Manchester United do in the summer? Are we going to be seeing a significant absence next summer, so next season again for De Ligt? But De Ligt, this was posted by United yesterday, so I got the picture on the screen. De Ligt had successful surgery, but it's been described as surgery to correct something which apparently he thought he could actually work through this in training, but I think he's been out of the team since about November. So it's been a long time out and a long time absence. And they deem this a corrected procedure. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know the nature of it, and it's quite obviously quite confidential. But the questions now being discussed is should Manchester United now very seriously look at trying to sign a centre back in the summer? Are we going to be effectively with say Lisandro Martinez, who has this injury issue worry as well, Harry Maguire, and then just Aiden Heaven and Yoro. I think De Ligt is expected to miss at least the start of the season, and given recovering from back injuries, it's not. No, it's not. The prognosis isn't always fantastic, is it? So, can he get back to the level he was before, or should Manchester United seriously be looking at options? So I've got a couple of options we can discuss, but I thought this was going to be one where a lot of people watching, you can let me know what you think. I've said what I think regarding Sandro Martinez. Injury-prone players are always a concern, and we've got a lot more games next season. So this season, we've had some issues with, like, say, Maguire's not going to play every single game. You sometimes get injuries, you sometimes get suspensions, and it feels a little bit like we haven't got. It feels like we've got less depth than we had last season, actually, but a lot more games. And last season, we did actually run out of centre backs for a couple of games. And if we have the same situation, but we've got 2 games a week, for me, there's definitely they've got to look at this and they've got to look at what options are on the table. I'm not saying that we need to spend a huge amount of money, but I think depth has got to be certainly discussed and addressed. But I welcome people in the chat, and I'm going to go through this one and say, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. So, thanks everybody for getting involved in this stream. I did say as many comments and questions as you got as possible. I've been reading this as well and saying back injuries. They do. I was thinking that I remember Rio Ferdinand having some back issues, and it's something that is massively concerning because when you're looking at the situation, say back injuries can end careers. I think that the let's put this off as much as possible. So if you're looking at the situation that he's had a back problem since probably for about 6 months now. He's not been in the team. There's been literally no news about it at all. And the question now is going to be like surgery. Surgery is a last resort, and it is like kind of like worrying that you think, well, considering that this stage of the season, how long is it going to be out for? And you kind of hope for the best, don't you? But it's not going to be. It's a bit concerning, I think. From like, obviously for him, it's his football career, but for the rest of the people talking about it, it's going to be quite worrying. I say Robin van Persie was never the same after his. Was it going to be something along the lines of? I was thinking, did Rio Ferdinand have something very similar as well? So I remember him having some issues. So once your back is gone, says well, hopefully, I mean, we don't know the nature of this. You'd hopefully, again, I would be looking at this thinking this could be quite a concern for Man United. Who do I blame for his injury? I don't blame anyone for his injury. I don't think anyone can anyone actually remember. Did it happen during a match, or is this something that I thought he just had some injury picked up and he just didn't play games. So I didn't think there was going to be something that I saw happen during a match. So no, that's what I thought as well. Did the back injury begin at Manchester United or did he have this at Bayern? So good question, actually. Very good question. Um, United, I said, not to mention he's had knee issues, joint issues. I guess when you add all these on top of each other, it's pretty worrying, isn't it? I remember when we did a stream about Manchester United signing signing De Ligt. And if anyone's got any specific information, feel free to put it in the chat and we can put it on the screen and talk about it. But I remember when we signed him from Bayern Munich, a few people did say that they were a bit concerned about injury issues, and he has gone through a lot of top teams quite quickly. So I can't remember if anything was particularly highlighted, but you'd have to hope, say, no, you'd have to hope that, but I don't know whether the medical would have picked it up. So I don't know whether this is a different issue to what he's had before. That for me, I don't have the information regarding medical records. And I did say this as well, Tyrone, that when we're talking about, say, going back to Owen Hargreaves, I was saying that when you see clubs like Bayern Munich let players go that are that sort of age, and you look at players that are mid-20s and think, why is Bayern Munich letting a player go at that sort of age? And I know the fans were quite disappointed when he left Bayern Munich, but I think there's like reasons why some clubs are letting players go. So yeah, according to reports, it's so I don't think he had back issues at Bayern Munich, but I think he might have had different issues. So that could be the factor. I think what you're looking at here is, I think it's unfortunate, but sometimes if you're looking from a if you're looking at this from a say a biology point of view, and I'm trying to think what's the best term to use. If you're looking at the sort of mechanics of the human body, if you get a knee injury, for example, it does affect the way you walk. It does affect the way you move, and can have a knock-on effect in your lower back. It's the same as if you have Delit has had a few injuries and they're mounting up. The fact that people are pointing out he had knee injuries and joint injuries, this could lead into like other back issues as well. So again, unfortunately, a lot of these things are connected, and a lot of these things are. It's disappointing, isn't it? So the first part of the stream, we'll just go through the discussion about Delit's situation, and then I think this factors into like what do Man United do. I think any player that signs for Manchester United, most of us like you look at the player, the age he was getting, the age he came in. Any player that signs he's got, I think most people are thinking potential leader in the club, lots of enthusiasm. But you have to look at it now and just think like, do Manchester United need to be even more careful with some of these players signed? Like, do we do an, are our medical stringent enough, or just like to go back to do we need to be hyper strict now? So if a player comes to Manchester United that's linked, do we have to scrutinise everything? Like I think we should be doing. If you look at Adam Wharton, for example, he's missed a reasonable amount of games. He's going to cost quite a lot of money. And I would probably say if you're prepared to spend 60, 65 million, 70 million pounds on Adam Wharton, you'd have to look at his medical records incredibly strictly because I think you can't make too many of these mistakes. Like if you keep making these sort of mistakes and you have players that are missing or unavailable, you got to learn from these lessons. So yeah, I think Damascus, I think that to be honest, if you're looking at this one, say, yeah, if Bayern are handing you a player, you probably double check and triple check on your medicals. But no, it's a bit like if Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, these are teams that are very well organised, and they if they let players go, you have to be a bit suspicious, I guess. Brill says it's that's sad, but De Ligt's a good player, and he had the same issues at Bayern Munich. If he had the same issues, then that's going to be yeah really disappointing, isn't it? Welcome JSN says he should have been a consideration. To be honest, we're playing in the Champions League. Now, just the thing that's annoying as well is that Manchester United do need more players for next season. And if you're looking at the squad, the squad in defence, if we take the lit out of the squad, there's no doubt the first half of the season, I think a lot of people were, the first half of the season, a lot of people were talking about De Ligt as being one of Man United's most reliable players. And this was a conversation we had for at least like maybe the first 10 to 15 games. And he scored a couple of goals. He was playing decent defensively. And then I think just before he got the injury, there was a couple of games where he didn't look quite himself. I don't know whether he was carrying a bit of a knock or a bit of an injury. And then you're looking at him and thinking, it feels a little bit like I said this about a month ago. I start worrying that De Ligt's career might be not effectively over, but it might be that we don't see De Ligt in the same capacity we saw at the start of the season again. And that's a big concern that are we going to see someone that can come in for just a handful of games? So he's been injury prone since Ajax's Debasis. To be honest, like a lot of people did say that, and you question it and go, I think these things are built up over time, aren't they? Like people talk about joints, people talk about knee injuries, and then this is going to factor into like your lower and upper back eventually, and it's just a bit disappointing. Jonathan Woodgate was, if people don't remember Jonathan Woodgate, he's actually a coach now at Man United, but he was the partner alongside Rio Ferdinand when Leeds were they got to the semi-final of the European Cup. So Leeds had an incredible good defense at that point in time, but he went to Real Madrid then I think after that, I think he barely had more than one good season. He had a lot of injury issues, whereas we got lucky. Rio Ferdinand was excellent for us. Ledley King, if you remember him, he started reducing his games and playing like one game every like 1 or 2 weeks. He only played like half of Spurs games at one point. But the issue I've got really is going to be if Man United go into next season and De is in the squad, well, he is in the squad, obviously, but when he comes back, is he going to be effectively only able to play like once every 2 or 3 matches? Like, I don't think we're going to see him every single week as he recovers from this injury. I'm a bit concerned that we're not going to see anything like the player we saw before. So it feels a little bit like we're going to be effectively having, say, Harry Maguire, Lissandro Martinez, and De Ligt. I think these three players are not going to be able to play as much football as as we should be looking from our senior players. Like for Lissandro Martinez, I think Maguire maybe he's playing like once a week. Maybe De Ligt's playing like once every 1 to 2 weeks or every 3 games. It's putting a lot of expectation and pressure on a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old and we're going to be playing quite a lot of high profile games next season. If we think we can get away with starting the season with four centre backs, I think that's a bit. I think it's taking the piss a bit considering we're getting an extra 90 million for being in the Champions League. And if you fix our midfield, but our defence starts falling apart, you just look at it and think, like, come on, Man United, like, you need to be looking at some options. And I've got a couple of options on the table at the moment. I'm not going to say Senesi is like the best player in the world. He's a solid centre back. Would he be worth going for on a free? That's something to consider. The other one, Murillo, would be incredibly expensive. I think that Nottingham Forest have said recently, and actually I think Nottingham Forest have said this morning that they don't really want to sell their players. But that's that. If you look at the information from the last couple of years, let's be honest, Nottingham Forest have sold most of their best players, and they do tend to sell players. They want a profit. So I think what we're seeing here is Nottingham Forest will want a profit on these players. So these are kind of the options we got. And say, yeah, no, I think if you're looking at it, like nobody, like there's no one to blame in terms of like the late Manchester. You could maybe question Manchester United's transfer policy when they bought him, but they did buy him for quite a cheap price, considering the player he was. I'm guessing this was considered a slight gamble, like 35 million for international centre back that's quite highly regarded if he stayed fit. Like if he stayed fit, 35 million is like a bargain for De Ligt. We've had probably what one and a bit seasons out of De Ligt, and now it's starting to look a little bit like we might have got unlucky, and it might be that United we might have to see what happens next season, but I don't think we can rely on De Ligt too much as well. Just to give a bit more clarification to this one is so things that abductor pain, ligaments, knee ligaments, calf injury, more knee stuff as well. So I think what you're looking at is when you add these things like on each other. Delit's only like his only mid-20s. He's gone through all these sort of injuries as well, and it's starting to say, yeah, as a defender, like remember Rio Ferdinand. There's a lot of examples, isn't there, of players that once they started having back issues and knee surgery I don't think Rio Ferdinand was ever the same player towards the end. Like this, the last couple of years, he effectively kind of got retired because he just wasn't able to do what he used to do. And I remember watching one game in Europe where I just thought, wow, what's happened to Rio? Because when I watched him live, say like 5 years earlier, he was definitely world class. Um, I think Varane's one as well. That Varane on his day, unbelievable, like unbelievable player. But unfortunately, injuries just meant we didn't get the best version out of him. And I remember watching a few players throughout the time, and you think there's some players that you just get unlucky, like knee injuries, back injuries are ones that just are ending careers. So it's really disappointing. I was trying to think of who's the guy that played for Holland, completely destroyed everyone in 1988, and I forgot Van Basten. Like Van Basten would have been, I think, more talked about if he'd have played for longer. I think he was forced to retire about age 27 with serious injuries. But This I'm not saying Delit's retiring, but it's kind of a massive problem, isn't it? I think United have got. Did we miss him all this time? The question is like, did we miss Delit the second half of the season? Probably not, because we only had one game a week, and we were able to bring in Aidan Heaven for quite a few games. We were able to have Maguire available for most of the games, and Alessandro Martinez came back from injury. And so we got lucky towards the end of the season, although at one point we did actually have to use Mazraoui as a centre back, and that's unacceptable for a team that's got the turnover and budget that Man United's got. So we can't be looking at that. So no, you're looking at that and say, yeah, we got through, but that's not to say we should be happy with this situation next season. Next season, I don't want to see a match where Manchester United do not have two available centre backs. I don't want to see a match where Manchester United are forced to move centre backs into midfield or to put full backs as centre backs. That's not how Man United should be organising that. That's not versatility. That's just making do because your squad's not big enough. Rob says Senesi on a free would be great and say a defensive monster. This for me could be like one of the better uses of like the free agency market. I can't remember off the top of my head how old Senesi is, but this is something where you look at and go, right, Manchester United might well actually go into say the window next season looking at defence, and I think we might be getting left back cover this year, but we might well be looking at different centre backs or left back, right back situation next year. I think the focus this season is almost certainly going to be it's going to be midfield. The question I've got is though, are some of these deals just like no brainers? Like, is it going to be worth getting Senesi on a free? That I know there might be like a few costs involved, but transfer fee wise, you're not going to be looking at spending big money there. The salary is not going to be big salary either. And if you're looking at trying to get someone that's effectively with Senesi, you're looking at someone that's going to be a reliable, good quality Premier League centre back. That's what you're looking for. We're not saying get him in. We're going to get some world class signings. You're looking here and saying, let's get in and make sure that we're going to be effectively covered throughout the season. If you've got Aiden Heaven and Yoro, for me, they're the future of Manchester United, but they're only 19 and 20 years old. And I would be looking at them sort of starting games, having maybe like not playing every single match. And you would want to have some experience. Maybe if you've got Senesi and you've got Maguire, and one of those can play each game. If we don't have Delit next season, I would, if Delit comes back and he can play somewhere they're somewhat close to the level he was playing, I don't mind. The thing is, at this stage of the season, this is a massive gamble, isn't it? Do you remember in January we had this conversation about should Manchester United get some cover? Like, should we look at signing Joe Gomez in January? And in the end, we just didn't do anything. Should we have got Hackney? We didn't get anything in the end. And I think one of those signings would have meant maybe United pick up a few more points. Like we've already done okay, but we could have maybe had a better quality option when Mainly was injured. We could have maybe had a better quality option. Maybe we could have rotated Casemiro a little bit more and not worried about the drop off. Maybe we could have got some cover in and around the team, which would have made sense. Like at the moment, Benjamin Sesko is not available for tomorrow's match. So what do? We're probably going to be putting Mbeumo in that position, and that's not ideal either. So having no backup striker, one season you can make an excuse, okay? And I think the excuse this season was we don't have Champions League football, we don't have European football, so if our squad's a bit thinner, it's okay. Like that, I think that's the excuse we're being fed. But I think most people with any sort of I don't know, any sort of understanding of football look at the squad and go, right, give this team an extra game a week. It's not going to be great, is it? We're going to see something different, aren't we? We're going to see a team that's like maybe struggling a bit more. So yeah, if you're able to click the like as well, please share the stream as well. So yeah, my fantasy football team did quite well. So I'll have to check out that later. I did take Ollie Watkins out of it because I thought Liverpool might give them a bit of a game. So maybe I'll have to readdress that issue. Um, United Dice says no ambition from this ownership. They could have reinforced in January. That's what I mean. I don't honestly. I do not see. I can't see the benefit of not signing a player in January. The thing is, what's the worst case scenario? Like if you sign a player, we're not going to sign a player in January that we don't want to keep for the next year. We'd be signing a player in January that effectively means that we almost we've got Champions League football, But in January, we didn't know we were going to get this. We didn't know we were going to be able to beat City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa. We thought it was going to be some difficult games, and we thought it might be a bit of a struggle. I think we were fifth when Carrick took over, but we just drawn with like who did we draw with? We drew with Burnley, and Burnley had been absolute crap all season. So we weren't exactly putting in great performances just before Carrick came in, and I'm very surprised that we didn't try and do something in the transfer window. Wizardbet says Senesi is pretty poor aerially and say it takes the place from others as well as a salary. If we bring someone in, we need a better profile. Who do you like as an option then? The players that just in this article they got Murillo and they got Senesi. I think Senesi is there. He's on a free, and okay, his aerial duel win rate is not amazing. If you're looking at other attributes, he'd be like I suppose he'd be considered like a decent like a Premier League quality centre back with experience. If you're looking at Murillo, he's going to be quite big money, I'd imagine. On the basis of what I've read regarding Forest, I think he might be one of these players that's almost too expensive to buy. Like Murillo, the price they want, they might be it might be a bit like Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace. They might just want an unrealistic transfer fee. So I'm not sure these deals are possible. That deal's possible. I would say maybe Van Hecke at Brighton could be like a consideration. Apparently, he's a little bit cheaper. I think he's about 30, 35 million, possibly. So then there might well be options available. So I would just be saying for me, uh, as I speak, Van Hecke says Danny Danny B. So no, I would look at this and say there's options, isn't there? There are a few options. I think a lot of it depends on how much Manchester United are prepared to spend. And I usually favour, like, if we're looking at say Senesi, Murillo, Van Hecke, I would tend to go for an option and say, look, we're probably assuming that Aiden Heaven and Yoro are at least first team centre backs, maybe not next season, but a year later, 2 years later, they might be playing most games then. And in the meantime, you think, okay, you've got Harry Maguire for 1 year. If you got Senesi, is he good enough for, or would you rather go for somebody like I'm not sure how old Van Hecker is actually, but Murillo would be one that if you bought him, then he'd be a first team player, and then you'd wonder whether are Heaven and Euro both going to be the first choice defenders in a year's time. And it's a tricky one. I think in terms of short term, that I don't mind Van Hecker, but if we got someone that was like 25, 26, 27, I wouldn't mind. That if you then thought, okay, maybe they're going to be first team choice next season, but they might be backup choice like a year or two later if Aiden Heaven and Yoro step up. So I think no, Aiden Heaven and Yoro, I do rate quite highly, but I do think you need to have some serious competition in front of them for them to step up a bit as well. But no, how much would he? How old is he, Danny? And how much would he cost? I think is the question. This is a question that actually I think Ryan posted something at the start and said, "Would you take Robert Lewandowski? Apparently, he will leave Barcelona as a free agent at the end of the season." Oh, I honestly I don't know. I don't know, Jarvis. I'm kind of 50-50. Do you remember Cavani? Cavani was really good the first season. Second season, he didn't do much. It's one that's intriguing, isn't it? I remember getting Henrik Larsson and thinking, I wish we got him sooner. And I remember getting um, Zlatan and thinking like Zlatan must have been about 35 when he joined Man United. He is like, he's been a world class player in his career. Um, I honestly don't know. Apparently, it's about 175k a week, isn't it? I don't know. It's got to be tempting, isn't it? I would. I do think Man United would probably go down the route of looking at Krupi Jr. and looking for younger players instead. But I don't know. There's part of me thinks it'd be fun to see. I don't know whether it'd be a sensible thing. I don't know if whether I'd regret it in a year's time. That's what I'm thinking. I think Lewandowski would be exciting, and you'd look at it and think, wow, okay, this is going to be. Can you imagine like having? I guess with Lewandowski, if you've got Bruno Fernandes and you've got Cunha and Buemo, you've got people like getting the ball to him. Is it going to be something that helps Benjamin Sesko? Because Sesko doesn't seem to be starting every single match, and I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I'd have to put a vote like to see what people think at some point. That's quite a good one. Oh yeah, we've got a Scottish football. I really hope Hearts win. I think Alex Ferguson was in charge in Scotland, wasn't he? The last time a non Yeah, so non like Celtic or Rangers one. So big firm has been dominating that for about must be like four. So you wouldn't take Lewandowski, speed, physicality. I don't know. You know, when players are world class, they just if you look at Zlatan, Zlatan played in loads of different leagues, loads of different um, clubs, and then as soon as like he came to the Premier League, Zlatan's just quality, isn't he? Just really good quality. Yeah, the question is though, what would you look at in terms of which centre backs would you go for? It's really tricky, isn't it? I'll definitely look around the Premier League. Pau Torres, cheap, not bad injury record, Premier League proven, good reader of the game, says Berber. How much would he cost? Then, so think United would be looking for a new centre back. I can't remember, but big up to you, Andy. And Tyrone says Murillo may be the most Manchester United style defender available. Aggressive, quick across the ground, excellent recovery pace, good progressive passing. He's one of like the players that I think when you speak to Nottingham Forest fans, and a few people have said that they know Nottingham Forest fans, they pretty much rate Murillo and Anderson as like the leaders of their team. And I think if you're looking to try and sign him, I think you're going to have to spend. Do you remember we tried to get Branthwaite? I think if you're looking at trying to get these players in, I think it's just going to be too much money. I don't think Murillo would be going. I have no idea how much he'd cost, but I think he'd be a fortune as well. Van Hecken, not what's his like aerial percentage win rate then? About 25 million. Maybe it depends. Like if he's in the team with someone with like someone that's good in the air, maybe it's going to work a little bit like that. I don't know. Yeah, Lewandowski will be 38 when the season starts. No, this is going to be the sort of season where no, with Lewandowski, I don't know. You'd get him for like a 1 year thing possibly, but I think to be honest, if I had to guess. Like I think fans would like go, okay, I think fans would be curious to see how it works rather than think it's a sensible thing to do. Like I think I'd be genuinely interested to see what he did at Man United because in the past, like I said, Henrik Larsson, Cavani, and Zlatan, they were all probably about 34 to 35, or at least 33 plus. And Lewandowski is older. Again, he's got he's great at finishing, but it does seem to be that it would be one of the signings that if we did it, I think fans would go, "What the hell are we doing?" But some fans would be just like, I can imagine if he scores a goal early on, if he came to Man United, fans would love it. But it's yeah, it's a Man United kind of like crazy signing that we have done in the past, isn't it? So I don't know what to think. No, I think Man United need to be like if we're going to sign a defender, I think you need to make sure you get someone that's going to be good for a couple of years at least. So maybe one season signing he'll be 38. And one thing that Ryan said as well that if we got okay, so I'll put a poll in the chat and see what people think. Be up to you, Eddie. Thanks for getting involved. Lewandowski could work for a year. Get Lewandowski. He's a no-brainer. Okay, I'm going to put a poll in the chat. Hopefully, I'll spell Lewandowski right. Big up to you, Daz, as well. I'll put a poll in the chat and say that, yeah, I would love to sign Murillo. I think Murillo would be a great Man United signing. I'm not sure how he is in aerial duels, but I think in terms of tackling, physicality, he's like ready to go, isn't he? You drop him into the first team, then yeah, Maguire and De Ligt might be struggling to get games if Aiden Heaven steps up. So that would be a good one. Let's put a poll in the chat then, because I'm genuinely interested to see where people are going with Lewandowski and whether you'd be interested. One of the positive things could be that Lewandowski, if he leaves Barcelona, does that mean that almost certainly that Marcus Rashford's staying? Like, is that going to be something that's a done deal very quickly? And I think also if you look at Anthony Gordon, he looks most likely to go to Bayern Munich now. So maybe that's ruling out another player that potentially Barcelona were looking at. So that could be a factor as well. So I'll say, should United sign Lewandowski? Hopefully Lewandowski is spelled correctly. Let's see. So should United sign Lewandowski is the question. So 38 years old, I believe he wants 175k a week. So that's actually slightly lower money than I think Cavani was on about 200k a week. I don't know if there's any money associated with the transfer fee, but so should United sign Lewandowski? I'll just leave that as a yes no question there. We know the cost. It's going to be about I don't know how much it costs to actually any sort of signing on bonuses or anything like that, but we're looking at 175k per week, and it's there. It's people. Some people in the comments were quite happy, quite interested. So it's a yes no question. I'll look at that in sort of 10, 15 minutes. Murillo would be probably one of the best options we could go for, I think, but he's going to be one of the most expensive, I believe. So let me just jump back into the comments. And Kate says, I've been calling for Murillo for a while. How much would he cost, though? Is probably because I get the feeling that Murillo might be the same sort of cost as some midfield targets we're looking at. So if we're going to be spending possibly like 55, 60, 65 million on a couple of midfield targets, I think Murillo might be in the same sort of like price bracket. So if you're looking at spending if you're going to spend a couple of hundred million on midfield, for example, maybe it depends. Like, how much does Believer cost? How much does Mathis Fernandez cost? Is there any chance of getting Anderson? Like, I know a couple of journalists this morning were talking up Tchouaméni and Anderson, but we don't know for sure that there's going to be a possibility of getting those players. If we look at signing midfield players, then Murillo for me would be probably one of the more exciting signings actually, because that would address more than just having a defensive leader as well. We don't really have someone like we don't have a player in their prime, do we? We have Harry Maguire who's a bit older. We have Aiden Heaven and Yoro that are up and coming. And the player that I thought was going to be, the player that's going to be that sort of 25, 26, 27, that's De Ligt, and De Ligt's injured. So that's probably the biggest problem as well. And so Lewandowski for to go and retire at Manchester United, haven't we learned from past burnouts like Schweinsteiger? As I would say, Zlatan was quite good. Like Zlatan did well because we had Zlatan and we won the FA Cup and the Europa League, and he got didn't Zlatan get like close to 20 league goals? So I think he did well, but it's a very very short term option, Eddie. I think Falcao was really bad timing. Like Falcao had got a knee, I think he had a knee injury or knee surgery the year before, so that was just that stupid timing. But no, 175k sounds cheap for a player of his legacy. It's yeah, you have to factor in a few other things around it as well, like a few other things around it. If you're watching as well, if you're able to share the stream during the live, that'll massively help trying to reach out. YouTube doesn't promote anything on the channel at the moment because it's quite a new channel. So if you're able to share the stream as we're live on any socials, that will definitely help. Niche fan says Lewandowski, Murillo, Tchouaméni, Fernandez. These players have to come. These are now. This is kind of interesting signings actually. That Tchouaméni for me is a world class player. I think Mathis Fernandez is going to be potentially a world class player in a few years. He looks extremely good. And I think Murillo would address suddenly. Now, if you drop these players into our first team, like too many anchor in defence, you got Murillo as a centre back as well, and you got Mathis Fernandez either starting or on the bench. You got some very good players in your squad. So I would be, and I think Lewandowski as well. But it depends. Does anybody know exactly how much Lewandowski's been playing recently? Like, is he coming off the bench? Is he starting games? Is he playing a lot of minutes, or is he just an impact sub, or does he get small amount of minutes? I don't know, but it'd have to be incredibly short time. I still don't think Ineos would consider that. I still think United would be looking at trying to do something else. Bilal says he's not the same level as Ibrahimovic, and so United side dice says I wouldn't touch Lewandowski. We'll be making the same mistakes as before, and say yes. You're saying yes, Ian. So this is why I thought I'll leave the poll there for like 10 minutes, and we can see what happens as well. We're talking about not much money though, so it's not like we're talking about, it's not like we're talking about signing him for like a several years deal. United side dice says just buy a younger striker on less wages. So you could be looking at someone like Krupi Jr. You could be looking at Mathis Mane at Wolves. But if you looked at Krupi Jr., how much would he cost? Like there's no doubt his salary will be a lot lower. I mean, like if you wanted to go for Thiago, he might be costing like a Mbeumo money as well, if not more, considering what he's done. So I think it's going to be. I think these players are good signings, Cake. Like I think like Morello's a good signing. I think Thiago's a good signing, but I don't think we're going to be able to spend. I don't think we're going to be able to spend that much either. And say he didn't. It doesn't need to play. I know he doesn't need to play every single game. I don't know what he's been doing in Barcelona. I guess the question could be if you consider if people would consider someone like Lewandowski, would you consider someone like a Danny Welbeck? Would you be looking at just like a like so they're kind of effectively, I'm not saying they're the same, but effectively you're buying a player or getting a player that potentially is a very short term deal. I think with Danny Welbeck actually, he's had a bit of a renaissance. I can't remember exactly how old he is, but he's having quite a good season as well. So yeah, I don't know. Ramos on loan has been mentioned. Welbeck, yeah, I think people mentioned Welbeck about a year ago, Cody, and again, you're looking at very short-term deals, very short-term. But in terms of this one, we did have a question. Yes, actually, remember last year we did have a question as well about whether it would be worth trying to get. Like Dominic Calvert-Lewin was offered to a lot of clubs, and to be honest, if you look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin's record at Everton before he left, it was quite poor, but he's had actually a good season at Leeds. So again, it's quite difficult to predict whether it's worth doing these deals, but they have to be quite cheap. I mean, Danny Welbeck. Probably the positive about Danny Welbeck would be that he wouldn't be expensive, but Danny Welbeck has actually been playing well in the Premier League this season. So I think it would be actually not. See, so Bilal said I'd go for Welbeck. I'm being hypocritical. It's different, isn't it? Like it's a bit different as well. Say someone mentioned Welbeck signed a new deal recently. Did he? Okay. If he signed a new deal recently, then yeah, maybe it's the same sort of age though, isn't it? It's the same sort of thing. But I'm saying if 175k a week deal helps Sesko develop and learn, then it's worth it. I would imagine that if you're looking at strikers, do you think that having like would having someone like Lewandowski at the club help Benjamin Sesko? It's difficult to say, isn't it? I thought if you're going to look at Sesko, he feels like somebody that's he's quite good in the air. He's got a lot of good attributes. Like I'd imagine with Sesko that you could say that Lewandowski is going to be I don't know, only here for a year possibly. I'd say if you're going to like, if Sesko is going to learn from someone, I think someone like Harry Maguire would be, not Harry Maguire, I think someone like Harry Kane would be a good player to learn from. Someone that is able to, create a lot of chances, link up very well. And I think that's something that Xerxes is quite good at, and he could build on that. But no, these are there's a lot of options. Do you get the feeling that with some of these deals that United probably need to try and make sure they do it. That you have to make sure the squad's capable of playing 2 games a week. That's probably the thing. And I think what most of us are looking at is there probably isn't enough centre backs if Delit's out. And if Delit's not going to come back the same sort of player, then I'd imagine that my best guess is going to be that he comes back and it's a slow integration as well, like a slow integration back into the first team. So I don't think we're going to be seeing like De Ligt suddenly come back and walk into the first team. Maybe Lissandro Martinez is better. That's all I can hope for already. So Niche fan says, let's get realistic. They signed characters to save money. Um, it could possibly, I think with this situation, if Man United are finishing third in the league, and they're not losing games. When they do lose games, it's not by much. I think what they're looking at is that Michael Carrick is like considered a safe option in the short term. And at this point in time, I don't know whether Carrick's going to be in charge for like a couple of years or whether if things go bad, then I think at the moment that Man United would be um, giving Carrick an opportunity, but there's going to be an expectation that he gets a certain level, and they need to make sure that whoever comes in as manager, you need to make sure you've actually got enough centre backs in the squad, and you need to make sure you've got a backup striker. This is feels a bit like fundamental stuff, doesn't it? That the squad needs to be improved significantly. And if you remember the end of last season, when the window was closed, there was an article, and I think there was a statement, and it was like something from Ineos along the lines of we feel that the squad has got enough. because we don't mind it being a bit smaller because we don't have European football. So I think Ineos themselves put out some sort of statement. It must have been in like September time when all the windows were closed. And it was pretty much, we feel like this squad is adequate because we've got fewer games this season and we should be able to cope with the workload. So with that in mind, I think most realistic fans look at the squad and go, right, this squad was okay for, we got third, but this squad was okay for one game a week. This squad is okay for no European football. But when you throw European football in, suddenly you look at it, and my first views are going to be, right, this squad is not capable of playing 2 games a week at the level it plays 1 game a week. And you need to have a look at some players can play twice a week. Casemiro wouldn't really be, but he's going to be gone. And hopefully the midfielders that come in will be able to, like Matheus Fernandes or Anderson, they'll be fine. The young, but also you can get a bit more depth as well. And maybe Mainu would be fine, but you can rotate these players anyway. But I think Benjamin Sesko at the moment, there isn't backup. And the concern I've got is I don't see De Ligt playing 2 games a week. I don't see Harry Maguire playing 2 games a week. And Lissandro, maybe Martinez could, but Martinez is probably one injury away from his career at Man United being over. And he's probably missed more games than he's played for Manchester United in his playing career. So suddenly that pushes a massive workload on Aiden Heaven and Yoro, and they're 19 and 20, as I keep saying. And Yannis says United have got 6 centre backs. So who have we got then? 6 centre backs. We've got Yoro, we've got Heaven, who like I said, very young. We've got De Ligt, we've got Harry Maguire, we've got Lissandro Martinez. Who's the sixth one? Oh, I missed one out. I've got five. Which is the other one? Just to see. As Genghis says, yeah, it's not just about spending, is it? It's about spending, I think, smartly. That you can throw money at it, but to be honest, it's a bit risky. Shaw can play centre back, but that in itself creates another issue, doesn't it? That I think having Shaw's not really a centre back. Like he can do okay, but he's not that he's for me. I think Luke Shaw is a left back, can play centre back, did play left centre back, but I don't think he's going to be the level required to be that first team centre back next season. And also, if Luke Shaw plays centre back, we've got no left back, which gives us an even a different problem. Um, Fredrickson Fredrickson can play there, but the problem on that list you got is that Mazraoui can play there, Luke Shaw can play there. Has Fredrickson started any games this season? And I think you've got the Litz. If the Lit's not available, I don't know. I think we probably need to look at moving on. Like for me, Luke Shaw, Mazraoui are fullbacks, and they shouldn't really be centre backs, but they can fill in. But then again, I think when we're playing extra games, Luke Shaw will be lucky to play all the games at left back, let alone be a backup centre back. So I'm not sure there's going to be enough cover there. I'm thinking like first choice ones. Okay. No, maybe that's one Yoli. I've not seen a lot of him, to be honest. So no, I think what you're looking at there is when you say there's six or something, I kind of like think, right, what's the ratio of games they're going to play? So I think for De Ligt, I'd say it's like having half a centre back. He might play half the games, and I think with Maguire he might play half the games, and maybe De Ligt might play half the games. So for me, instead of being three, it's like 1.5 or something. So I don't think we got as many as we got. I say this club is in debt. We still need to cut our cloth appropriately, says Andy. No, I think we need to make sure that yeah, I'd like to get half of PSG, but that's not going to happen, is it? Um, it feels like everyone that started against Grimsby is like kind of on a watch list for some fans. It seems as like people pointing out, but how old is Fredrickson? He's still got time as well, but I think that for me, he's someone that's going to be not relied upon for lots of games. RK says surgery is the worst thing that can be done, and with the article I read. The Lit's been trying since about November to try and work through this injury, and surgery is a last resort. So it's considered the last resort. He's tried everything else, and that's why I think people are a bit worried. that he hasn't been able to recover naturally, and that's the problem. So it's like no, in an ideal world, maybe he wouldn't have that issue, but unfortunately, unfortunately, that's the situation, isn't it? Exactly. If we got rid of everybody that played against Grimsby, we probably have hardly any squad. So hardly any squad. Um, I can't remember how old Fredrickson is, but I think Fredrickson actually played a few games for. Didn't he play more games for Eric Ten Hag? I remember, or he played more last season. It might have been more in last season when we were in Europa League and rotating a bit more. Yeah, I think everybody was awful at Grimsby. If you lose to Grimsby, then everybody's not going to be coming out of that game smelling of roses, are they? So no, I'll close the Lewandowski poll. What would you like regarding what would you like regarding transfers in the centre back position? Do you think that for RK that just joined, this was kind of like the situation that a couple of journalists are saying that Manchester United might move for a centre back because De Ligt is likely to miss the start of the season. And when they say missed part of the season, do you remember when Lissandro Martinez was injured? I think he got injured last January, and I said, right, that's him gone for the rest of the year, and he didn't come back that calendar year. I think we've like De Ligt's gone for surgery. It's now what the end of May. League starts in August. I don't know how quickly De Ligt's going to come back. That's the worry I've got, and I'm wondering whether Man United are going to be questioning like who to go for. So Van Hecker for you. Anne-Marie. Yeah, it was a bad game, wasn't it, all round? Like we need to forget Grimsby. We need to try and move past Grimsby. Like forget. I know it's a disaster. Van Heck for Tony said he likes Senesi. Do you like Senesi, or are you just considering Senesi? I know I was on holiday when this game happened, and I just followed the penalty shootout on my phone when I got back to the hotel. It was I think it's a low point for anybody that unfortunately watched that match. Yeah, as options, then I can put a poll in the chat and we can vote on like favorite options. Yeah, I think you'd have to be pretty mindful that Van Hecker, Senesi, and Murillo seem to be ones that are talked about. Slotterbeck seems to be talked about as well. I think he might be maybe like 40 million-ish, something like that. But do you see centre backs that are linked to Man United, like credible links? You think Man United would actually consider going for? I do see links with Van der Ven a little bit, but yeah, I'm not really convinced that's going to be something we go for. He would be apparently quite expensive. I think Spurs are not going to get relegated anyway. So, could Belieber become a world class player like Tchouameni and Fernandez? Do you mean Bruno Fernandez? I would at this point in time, I'd say when you're looking at Belieber, Anderson, Wharton, um, Matheus Fernandez, all these players have got potential to be world class players, haven't they? There's a lot of players that have got potential to be world class players. And if you're looking at some of the players like Aiden Heaven and Yoro, they have potential as well. Dorgu's got potential. So I think that he's got potential, but it's not the best season so far. Well, this season hasn't been as good. But as a younger player, there's a lot of potential there. But I think I'm not really keen on Man United paying big money for just potential. Like, I think you need to actually try and lower the price if possible. So should United sign Lewandowski? Yes, say a third. No, say two thirds. So most people would rather not sign Lewandowski. It seems like. I mean, he is 38, so it makes sense to go for someone younger. Um, so I'll put this one there. Best. We're going to do best centre back option if Man United consider moving for centre back. And so best centre back option, I'll go for the ones that people are generally mentioning that have been linked. So I think we can put Senesi there as he's on a free. Okay, free doesn't mean £0. That will mean probably a signing on fee, probably some agent stuff as well. And it would be, but I'll put that as free in brackets. But it's not going to be incredibly expensive. And then Murillo, what do we think? I've seen like 70 plus. Do you think Murillo would cost like 60, 70 million pounds? Would that be would that be kind of like the market value? So no, I agree. Not. not all cheap deals are sensible deals. That's true. And we might only sign if we only sign one midfielder. Like Cake, you can't sign one midfielder and let Casemiro go and let Agate go and loan out Toby Collier. You can't have like if you have Co-Mainoo plus one midfielder, that's ridiculous. I don't believe that at all. If they did that, it wouldn't make any sense. So centre back options, if you can just post some comments in the chat, I'll put four options on for you to vote on. So Senesi is one, Murillo's another. Is Murillo 70 million? Like if you could put a price next to what you think the player would cost, I have seen 70. I'll put that in there, but if you think it's too much, we can change it. Van Hecker was mentioned as well, and that's going to be. Yeah, I think hey, if they do that, then Man United have got massive problems. Like you can't have just two midfielders in your squad. That was just stupid, wouldn't it? So his price is Murillo, right? Right. So any other options? I got three there. If we're going to do a vote, I can put another defender in. If you think of a defender you think is a good option, and Van Heck's going to be about 35 million, I believe, something like that one. Ornstein said one or two. I don't think Ornstein knows though. Like how can Man United have just two midfielders in the squad? It doesn't make any sense at all, does it? If you looked at the Man United squad and going right, we got Manu and we got Anderson, and they were our only midfielders, it wouldn't make any sense at all. So if we're going to be losing three midfielders and replacing them with one or two, I don't know. I mean, Ornstein's usually okay, but I saw the video Ornstein was talking about, and to be honest, he didn't give any information at all. So I think it was just speculation. I don't think Ornstein's got any new information at the moment. So any other options, or should we just stick with those three as the best option? So we can leave those three and go right. You got Senesi, Murillo, Van Hecker. There's no other options, I don't think, in terms of like people suggesting options. But if you want to suggest one, like is Senesi, is Senesi worth getting? Like I know people say he's not good in the air. Right. So let's put that poll in there just for a debating point. Okay, so I'll jump back into the comments. We've got three defenders to vote on. Please vote. Please also click the like if you haven't done so already. Then try and get as many likes as possible on the video. We will be live, obviously, for the game tomorrow. I think we might do a pre-match and there might be a calling show after the match. There's probably not a watch long tomorrow, though, at the moment. So at the moment, I would just say with Murillo, if Man United are going to be signing Murillo, maybe that would factor into actually not spending crazy amounts of money on midfield. But we have to hope that we do spend a decent amount of money on midfield. Two from Germany linked to. I've seen us linked to like fullbacks from Germany, like Ryerson was one. I think David Raum was another one. But fullbacks, I think Slotterback was one that we're linked to as well. Surname starts with B, or name starts with B. So check out Murillo stats, not close to Van Hecker. How do you mean not close to Van Hecker? I think a lot of Forest fans say game watching him play in matches, he's like one of the best players. So Van Hecker's 35 million, good value. So I can look at a comparison later and see how they and then maybe have a different opinion. But Murillo's going to be the most expensive. And Van Hecker 35 million is really good value, but if you wanted Murillo, yeah, vote for the one you think's best. If you think Murillo is levels above these other options, then vote for them. If you think Van Hecker is actually just as good, then maybe he's a good option to vote for. Senesi will be the cheapest one, but it's going to be a judgment call, isn't it? Yeah, I think sometimes you can look at stats, but you have to look at them playing as well. Also, I suppose if you look at Brighton have been a better team as well, so it depends, doesn't it? If you watch the games, I don't watch enough Nottingham Forest games, but Nottingham Forest fans are very happy. Kate said, I'd be happy with selling Lissandro Martinez, signing Hecker and Murillo. Apparently, Man United are not planning to sell any centre backs at the moment, so it might be that they feel that they might do these deals. I think I get the feeling United will do centre back deals a year later. That I don't think we're going to be doing centre back deals, although it has been suggested by Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail today, and it has been pushed out there as well. That's why we're discussing this today. It has been discussed that because of De Ligt's surgery, that I think United, if we had this conversation say 2 weeks ago, I don't think we're going to sign any centre backs at all. We're linked to some, and I get the feeling that no, since Lissandro Martinez came back and was able to play more matches, they did think actually no, we're okay, and then they kept Maguire, and I'm assuming they thought De Ligt was going to come back from his injury, but because De Ligt hasn't come back, I mean, I'm not going to write off De Ligt and say he can't come back, but I think most people are thinking now that will De Ligt be the same player again? That's where the conversation's going. I say Van Heck is better aerially than Murillo. And yeah, now Murillo's I think with Murillo, people look at him as going to be someone that's aggressive in the tackle, good at bringing the ball out, and and those sort of attributes. I guess you've got to look at how well does Murillo fit with other players we got, and that's what we're looking at. Yeah, don't forget to share the live stream on Instagram or Twitter or whatever socials you're on. It just does send like a message to YouTube as well that people are sharing the stream, so it does help with eventually getting more promotion from YouTube. So please do that if you can do that. No, for me, I do quite value looking at sort of all these attributes and go, without Maguire, we don't have a lot of strength in the air. I'm guessing like Yori, that's something to work on. I think Aiden Heaven could be decent long term. Delit clearly, I think with Delit, I think Delit was signed so that then Maguire would move on and Delit would essentially be winning things in the air that Maguire was winning. So I got the feeling that Delit was a replacement for Maguire. But unfortunately, at the moment, we don't know if Delit's going to be playing loads of matches next season. Maybe the Maguire one is just to see what happens with Delit, and if Delit doesn't work out, then maybe Delit and Maguire both go next season, and we spend quite big. So it's not ideal, but I'm kind of thinking that Man United. Do you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Man United might do a defence. What we've done with midfield this year, I think we won't do enough. And what we'll do is we'll go, let's see if we can get through the season without fixing the defence. And I think we'll have a conversation in January where we go, we knew this was going to happen. Do you remember when we ran out of midfielders? And I was saying, why don't we sign one in January? And it was absolutely crazy. A big up to my man, Modern Samurai. Thank you so much for the gifted memberships. On the basis of your suggestion as well, I put in a custom emoji for Mr. George Best just to remind people what a proper number seven looks like. And if Coventry are listening, Mason Mount is available. Just convince him, and I think given first team football, he might come. Now, thank you so much for the gifted memberships, Modern Samurai, and big up to the people that got the gifted memberships as well. And good to see a few legends in the chat. Big up to you, show. It's good to see you in the chat show. And for people watching as well, that I do know, we will be doing a calling show after the match tomorrow. If you want to come on, we've done it for a couple of matches now. They've been quite popular, and you can look on the channel for previous ones to kind of see the format. But essentially, we'll put the link in the comments. You can come on 5-10 minutes after the match, just just have a conversation about the football match, and it's been actually a lot of fun. So if you want to get involved in that, that will be tomorrow's content. Now, big up to Modern Samurai, and also shout out to people like Dibs, Naked Wrestler, interesting username, Sebastian Unites I Die, Den. Welcome to the membership club, guys. And for people that just joined, we did do a quick vote on Lewandowski. And interestingly, there was quite a lot of hype in the comments for Lewandowski. But when we did a poll, I think maybe common sense won in the end. And people said, he's 38. Let's go for a younger player. But part of me is kind of like thinking, I wouldn't mind seeing Lewandowski play like a couple of games just to see what he's got. But I think in reality, if Man United said we're signing Lewandowski, I'd be thinking, okay, that's it. To be honest, when we signed Zlatan, I was also open-minded. I was like, let's see how this goes. I was actually really impressed with Zlatan though. I thought it was really good quality. But I do get the feeling that Lewandowski is like 5 years too late, maybe like 4 or 5 years too late. Um, I've seen significant. I've seen like a bit of. I have seen news Yarley pushing him towards Coventry. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I get the feeling that if Mason Mount's going to leave Man United, I think he's going to leave in the same way that other players have recently. I think he'll get loaned out, not just be about saving his salary. So if you think about a deal for Anderson costing like 250K, I think Mason Mount's salary is going to be covering a deal like that. So I think United could be looking to structure deals where Mason Mount, that if he plays in the team, then if you're no, if you're right, Yarley, effectively what this means is if you're right, it means that Man United will be not having enough play, no, we're not signing enough midfielders. So if we think Mason Mount can play in the first team, for one, he's got to for one, he's got to actually be fit and available all season, which is a bit of a risk. The second um, is he good enough? Like, is he going to be good enough in the six? Like, I don't know. I'm not. Link up play with Mount's decent, but I'm not sure. I'll have to do a bit of. I'll have to do a bit of research on that one. I'm not convinced he's going to be the best option, but it's for me. It would be if Man United feel like that, I'd be a bit concerned. Like Jim Radcliffe can't say best in class and then go Mason Mount's a six, can he? Like you can't say that and say, look, we wanted to sign too many, we wanted to get like Anderson or Tonali, but it doesn't matter because Mason Mount will do a job. That would not make sense. Welcome to you, Omar. Good to see you, my friend. Says Murillo would be a good option, but Senesi is realistic. Senesi feels a bit like the sort of deal that you do to go right. This is going to be one. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think Murillo would be a good option, but Senesi is realistic, says Omar. It could be like that. I have got a vote. I can't see the vote, so just to people know, I cannot see the vote. So and I can't really influence it. I don't think anyway. I was going to say that if I had to predict based on what the fan base says, not Man United fans, based on the view of Nottingham Forest fans, I think Murillo might be a decent signing. I know people will say, "Oh, this stat is this," and but I think if when you speak to Nottingham Forest fans, they absolutely love this player and they see him as a key player. I know people say, "In the air, he doesn't seem to have done well," but yeah. Pavlovic from AC Milan. So United reportedly putting a 50 million euro offer in, 6 foot four. That rings a bell actually. Good aerially, 98th percentile for progressive carries, 87th for duels, 82nd for pass completion. Those numbers are incredibly good. I think with this one, do you remember how I used to have this conversation with people and say, if somebody scores like 25 let's say someone scores like 30 goals in the Portuguese league, you kind of have to divide it by two when it comes to the Premier League. Like, say the number of goals that who's the guy that went to Liverpool? Like Darwin Nunes, and you look at sort of stats in the Portuguese league, and they're kind of crazy, aren't they? And you look at Gyökeres with his 50, 60 goals. I think when you look at some of the stats abroad, I looked at Edison's stats, and Edison is incredibly similar to Anderson. Like in terms of like, if you look at the numbers, Edison at Atalanta is incredibly similar to Anderson, but he's playing in Serie A. He's playing in, and he's a few years older. So Anderson for me is obviously a much better football player. But in terms of what he does, he might be able to do something similar in the team. So maybe they're saying that with these numbers, that jumping from maybe a few years ago, it's kind of difficult, isn't it? Because a few years ago, you'd get a centre back from AC Milan, and you go like Italian was like a tough, physical, defensive league, and they would be top quality players. So I'm not sure. I haven't watched enough Serie A recently, but the league seems to have dropped off a little bit in terms of like a lot of the factors. So I think with the numbers and the stats, I think that they no, that they're legitimately good, like really good numbers. And I suppose in comparison to like the rest of, if he's like one of the best in Serie A, then he's the best option to go for. And if they think he's going to be able to cope, it's a little bit like if you watch Edison and you can see he's quite physical, quite strong. And I said the same thing about Cherki last season. I watched Cherki against Man United. He was a physical, strong, good on the ball. You can't push him off. He had all the attributes I thought would work in the Premier League. And I was like, get Cherki in. He's going to be, a really good player. And I think Cherki's been a really good player for City, unfortunately. And contrary to popular belief, I don't think Pep's managed to ruin Cherki yet. Cherki's still doing like some nice stuff, and he's still one of the better players and they got a good deal. So maybe I think United are going to be looking at a lot of these things, aren't they? They're going to be looking at these sort of attributes and seeing how they fit in. I mean, we got it right with Lamans, and he played in the league no one watches, or if people say they watch it, I don't think they watch crazy amounts of that one. So let me jump into a few of the comments as well. So we need a sort of tank defender to sort out Arsenal and set piece rubbish. You need a physical, you need to be physical in the Premier League, don't you? It's now when you've seen recently, Harry Maguire stepped up against Arsenal when he was like bullying Gabriel, and you need that, don't you? Aiden Heaven and Yoro would not have been. They would have found it difficult against Gabriel and Saliba, but they will get there. They will get there. And like Murillo for me is like one where I haven't looked at the stats. I haven't compared Van Hecke. I haven't compared Murillo and Senesi. But all I know is that when you speak to Nottingham Forest fans, they kind of love this guy. And you know when you speak to match going fans, and actually somebody else was like talking about that as well. Am I watching the Asterix Cup final? Asterix Cup final. Oh, do you mean like Asterix as in like two questionable teams? Is that what you mean? Is that what you talk about? The FA Cup final? Because isn't the FA Cup final normally isn't it normally on Sunday? Have I gone mad? Like it seems that I didn't realize when I looked at it, I thought the FA Cup final is now, and then there's a load of Premier League games tomorrow. Does that not seem weird? I was just thinking like that this morning. I was looking at it thinking, then I'm sure that normally for me, if you remember the treble winning season and you watched Manchester United then, it felt like we had a week where we had on one day we played Spurs and we won the league. Then the next day, I think it might have been the week after, possibly, we played against Newcastle, and then we won that game 2-0 and won the FA Cup. And then we played Bayern Munich. We must have played Bayern Munich like 3 days later or something. So I'm pretty sure we played. I can't remember if we played the last league match. Must have been a weekend. So there must have been a weekend, and then we played the FA Cup a week after. So in like 10 days, we won three trophies. And I'm thinking like now they just messed it up. So yeah, I might watch it to be honest. I was actually considering doing like something for it, but I don't know if I will. Like, I was thinking I might try and keep this channel just for like kind of recognition purposes and YouTube reasons. I might keep the channel purely Man United, but I was considering doing something like that. Um, yeah, to be honest, I don't even know who I want to win. I mean, probably I want to see Man City lose. That's probably the best way of putting it. I don't really want to see. I don't want to like Chelsea to win too many trophies, but I don't know. Considering what's happened this season, and maybe that Man City are going to be likely to win the league, I'd rather not see them do it. Actually, no, Arsenal probably winning the league, aren't they? It'd be quite nice to see Pep go trophyless. So I'll say I'm going to be reluctantly. I'll say I don't want to use the word support's too strong. I think so. I'm kind of wanting City to lose that. Oh, yeah, they won. Oh, I forgot they won the League Cup. Yeah, but I don't think Pep was buying Semenyo and buying who else was it? Semenyo and Mark Gahey in January to try and scrape like a cup. Like, I think he was trying to get a bit more. No, I'm going to keep it all. I'm going to keep it all Man United. So don't worry, Bilal. It will be exclusively Man United stuff. I want Rodri to sign a new contract, and I want to see. things happen along that line. So I want to see Anderson going to Manchester United. That's what I want to see. And so back to the story and the what we've been talking about as well. Is anybody else finding like if you use Twitter, it's a complete disaster at the moment? Because I'm finding that a lot of things just kind of just crash, and I can't really use them at the moment. So I can't really share too many things. But if you're able to share stuff, that would definitely help. I think it's like 20, 24 likes at the moment. So yeah, please. I just saw this and it made me laugh. It made me laugh. Okay, if you watched the if you watched the stream yesterday, we did like a big shout out to Winners are Better. Did a lot of research about Nottingham Forest. So if you watched the stream yesterday, the video, the first probably like an hour, first 45 minutes, really good information, like really good information on Nottingham Forest, what Man United are going to do because we know a few players are injured. And then towards the end of the stream, I did get hungry and I mentioned I was going to have a chocolate eclair. It was good actually. Well, I enjoyed it. I'm going to say, I was really hungry as well. So you know when you're really hungry, it kind of like it possibly goes up an extra mark. It's got to be like a solid eight, I think, 8 out of 10. I did enjoy it a lot. And yeah, Twitter is finished. For people that like the Discord and that actually follow, if you want to follow United TV on the Discord, there is a server there where essentially there's just for people that are interested. There's quite a few different sections on the Discord from transfer rumor stuff. There's like fantasy football. I post in a section on live stream so you know when we're going to be streaming live. And there's player scouting stuff. Sometimes I put videos there as well. And there's if you want to share match day stuff as well, there's a section there as well. And general football chat as well. So the Discord is something that we're growing and it's got close to 80 people on it now. So if you want to get involved in the Discord, I'll post it there, and then I'll pin it to the chat at the top. So if you use Discord, it's just a social resource where if you want to message people, you want to share information because sometimes people there's a couple of tools on there as well I've used that people have shared that are quite good for comparing football players, comparing like different stats as well. I just recommend it because at the moment, if I want to share information on Twitter, it just crashes. It's completely useless, and there's no spam on Discord. There's no adverts. There's no like OnlyFans rubbish. It's just football stuff, and it's just it's just people just sharing information you find. So if you find something you want to share, Discord is like the perfect place. It's just a really good no, it's just a good resource. So if we do a stream here and we talk about things, you can share information on it. So you can actually have a look and share anything you find out on these players as well. So no, cheers for the super chat, cake. So appreciate that, mate. And so yeah, get involved in the Discord. It should hopefully it's pinned. And Jim, you never have a problem with X. I've had like loads of problems with it that it keeps crashing. Every time I post something, it just crashes, and then I try and message somebody and it just crashes. It crashed about 25 times this morning, and I tried to post something there and share it. It took me about 10 minutes. It's just been a nightmare. Okay, let's go back to the poll as well. Yeah, I think if you're talking about Dutch players, then Van der Sar, Yapstam, and Van Nistelrooy are going to be like the trio. Robin van Persie, don't forget. So Van Persie, Yapstam, Van Nistelrooy, amazing players for us. So we've just been unlucky. Donny was just signed. It didn't really work out where we thought it was going to be. But to go back to Man United's defensive situation, please vote in the poll if you haven't done so, because I think it is really close. So at the moment, it looks I can only see who's winning, and the percentage is like 35. So if you haven't voted, you can really influence the poll here. So please vote if you haven't voted. Like you can change the vote. If you think Senesi is the best option, vote him. If you think Van Heck is a better option, or you think Murillo, I would look at it and say at the moment, without going into like lots of detail and maybe like doing a bit of a scouting report, my gut feeling is based on what I've seen, I'd probably go for Murillo. I'd say that he's going to be someone that potentially is going to be. bridging the gap until Aiden Heaven and Yoro step up. And I think some of the things in terms of getting into the tackle, being physical, that could be a great. It feels a bit like Aiden Heaven, but more experienced, doesn't it? So that would be kind of my gut feeling. But he is going to be quite expensive. I don't know if he's going to cost exactly 70, but he would be quite a lot as well. I think I don't know. I don't know. VHU Lucky in the chat. I just saw your comment. So now Van Heck is winning. Where so it's what I'll do is like so it's not biased. I'll not look at the screen. I'll just go back to the streaming software. What I'll do is I'll give it an arbitrary, just random time. So um, how long do you reckon we should carry on the stream for today? It's 2:15. So I could stream for a bit longer, and I could just say maybe at 2:30 UK time, the poll will close. So if you want to vote in the poll, you've got another like 12, 30 minutes. And then what I'll do is I'll open the screen up. I'll just close it straight away. So then that'll be completely unbiased. I'll just see who's winning at that time. And that's probably the fairest way of doing it. So at the moment, to be honest, I can see where people go for certain players, but it's quite nice to have a mid-range one. You use Telegram. I've literally never used Telegram. That's the only one I've not used. But there's probably too many otherwise. So let's grab the live chat. Let's say Van Hecker is the better option for the type of centre back player that you prefer. Anala to Trabzonspor on another loan. This might be the way that players leave Man United at the moment. I don't think it's going to be the case for Agate and Xerxes, but Anana must be just on too much money then for him to go. But effectively, this means that Man United. How many years has Anana got left on his contract? We had him for two. He got loaned out for a year, didn't he? So is this his fourth year since he? It feels like it's like he's been here for like ever, doesn't it? Like messing things up. But now an honest Trabzonspor, I guess that takes his salary off the books, but I don't think he gets paid crazy amount either. Has he got 2 years left on his contract? Is that the issue? That could be. Push too many game time minutes, but you don't want to lose. Maybe get Enzo Fernandez to fill the gap. You think Real Madrid are going to go for Enzo Fernandez? Maybe if Rodri signs a new deal with City, maybe that is the case as well. Um, yeah, big game today there. Who do people want to win? Just out of interest. So you voted Murillo. I don't know what the final result of the poll. We haven't. The poll's not closed yet. It'll close in like about. I said when it gets to 2:30, I think it's going to close. So there's like 11 minutes to the poll, and then we'll close it and see. It was really close, but I think there's a bit of a rush on Van Hecken now for some reason. Is there any others we're linked to you think would be a good option though? But if Man United were going to do the sort of thing they've done recently, Murillo would be the guy to go for. You'd look right, who's good, who the best players in Forest, and go. The best players are probably going to be Murillo. I think Senesi feels a bit like a. It feels like a deal that fans look at. Do you remember Jonathan David on a free? And we looked at him. I can't remember who Jonathan David was playing for, but he was available apparently on a free. And I think that Man United fans were looking at that, thinking, actually, that could be a no-brainer. And I think people look at Senesi as well and go, he's available on the free. We should be looking at that deal. But I don't think Manchester United necessarily looking that way. I think United are looking for players to be part of the team for a bit longer than 1 or 2 years. So the Lewandowski situation, although it's like interesting and fun to talk about, I'd be so surprised if Man United did any sort of deal for a player of that sort of age. I don't think we're going to be seeing that sort of thing happen as well. No, I'm hoping that Hearts win it because I don't watch Scottish football, but when I saw Hearts were top of the league about I don't know how long ago were they top of the league? I can't remember. But if they if Celtic win, do they win the title or is it still up for grabs? I don't know what the difference is. Maybe just a quick question actually. How long is the game on for? Like, am I going to be live during the game or is it going to finish? So it's one. Okay, the game's almost finished. So if the game ends in a draw, is there more games to go? I'm not sure. I know with Scottish football, you divide the league halfway through, so I have no idea how many games they actually play to start with or to finish. But is this the last game of the season for? So the moment, at the moment, Hearts are 1 point ahead if it's a draw. Is that right? So if the game ends in a draw, have Hearts won the league? If you know, let me know because I don't know. I don't follow Scottish football, so I know Hearts are top, and I'd quite like to see them win the league because it's a different team. If it stays like this, Hearts win it. I think. So there's no more games, is there? Is that it? I know switching, dividing the league in half is bizarre, isn't it? So if Celtic win, does that mean they win the league? From a neutral, that would be a bit disappointing, I would say. But we'll see. Genghis says we're not going to fix everything in the squad this window, but they've got to fix as much as possible. No excuses. So, based on what we've discussed so far today, and this is going to be, I did say that we try and vary things a little bit. So today is a defensive chat rather than midfield chat, and we did talk about backup striker. But to go into the question again, for you, Genghis, and other people watching, is it okay not to do any deals for centre backs? Like, what do people think? Like, I think most people would say we only have Luke Short left back, and people. I know people say Dorgu can play left back, but I don't think they see Dorgu as playing left back. I think they see him further forward, so it would be a bit strange if they suddenly change their minds. If Celtic won the league, then if they have, it'll be a bit disappointing. I think from a neutral perspective. So yeah, the question is like, should Manchester United be looking to definitely get a centre back, or do people think we've got enough? I'm a bit. I was a bit concerned that Man United feel like we might have enough, but yeah, you never know. Do you? Yeah, Rangers are way off the pace at the moment. I think in terms of that one. So Celtic take the lead. There's like 90 plus 2 minutes. They're still playing, aren't they? So how does that affect the league table? So now Celtic are top of the league. Is that it? If Hearts don't win it this season, it's literally never going to happen, is it? It's going to be Rangers or Celtic forever. That'd be pretty disappointing. Okay, so back on track, and Genghis says absolutely not. We need a prime centre back. Bring in Delit, may get back playing, but he'll never be the same. That's probably one where no one knows for sure, do they? But I was just trying to think about any sort of precedents with like I think with Delit, people pointed out quite rightly at the start of the stream that he's had some issues, some ligament issues, and based on his age, that I was going to say that I haven't had serious injuries in my life, but you have some injuries and you have some minor injuries. And I was involved in a car crash a few years ago, and you do get things like I'm not playing, obviously, I'm not playing high level football, but I think the difference is going to be these things accumulate over time. And when you start, if you injure your knee, yeah, I said this, like people that injure their knees or your ankles, it's going to have like a physiological effect on other parts of your body. Like if your knee's damaged, like my dad had a serious knee injury and it affects like your hip, it affects other part of your body. There's no way around it. If you have operations on your knees, it will affect the rest of your body. And I'm looking at what I know about biology and from like where I've worked in the past and physiology. I'm a bit concerned that these sort of things are just going to get worse. So I agree with what you're saying, Genghis. But when you have someone that's got a history of knee injuries, and then you've got some like joint issues, and you've got back injuries, it feels like obviously the injury, the operation might be essential anyway, because for Delit, he's got to also think about his life. It's not just about football for Delit. Like he's also got to think about his life after football, and you want to make sure that you're not permanently injured or you don't have a permanent pain. So I think for Delit, he was trying to avoid surgery for as long as possible. It wasn't possible, so he's had to have an operation. So taking the football out of it for a second, I think also has to do what's right for him. I'm wondering whether when you have that sort of issue that you can't play football for 6 months, you have to have an operation, then you've also got to think about how effective can you be in a really physical, a really tough league. Now, the Premier League is going to be one of the hardest leagues to come back into after an injury, particularly how fast it is these days, how physical it is. I don't think there's not going to be strikers in the league, and like someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not going to be thinking, I won't get stuck into De Ligt, he's had a back injury. No, they're going to take every advantage they can. It's going to be difficult. So, in terms of how much of the season does De Ligt miss, I think he might miss quite a lot. I remember saying about Lissandro Martinez, he wasn't going to come back quickly. So I'd imagine that if De Ligt thinks he's going to miss the start of the season, I think he's going to miss the start of the season. I think that he would miss maybe quite a lot of the season, a lot of the start, and it might be worse than we know. But also to not play for all this time, have the surgery, then come back to build yourself back up to match fitness, but then also build yourself back up to playing for Manchester United in the Premier League. I think it's going to take quite a long road back. So I don't want to be too negative, but I don't think Man United can be. I don't think we should be looking at it thinking, oh, maybe I'll miss a couple of games. I think it might be a bit longer than that. I think it might be a bit more serious. Thoughts on Keys Smith? Wasn't he talked about recently? Wasn't like there was something in the news about this player? I can't remember what the article was now, but let me just double check see if I can find what it said. But I've definitely seen him talked about recently. I think there was definitely like some interest from Manchester United and Keith Smith. There was a story in United in Focus, I think, and it was an article written yesterday that was talking about Keith Smith. And if he leaves AZ Alkmaar, then apparently he's like the kind of guess where he's going to play after that. There's apparently interest from Manchester United. If Manchester United are looking at Keith Smith, the competition is going to come from Real Madrid, Barcelona, so teams like that. That's kind of the tricky situation. I don't really know how much he was likely to cost. He's only 20. He's one of the, he's apparently slightly linked. I think he's been mentioned in connection with Manchester United. I don't know how strong the links are, but again, I think Manchester United will have a lot of these players on the radar as well. Um, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if he's ready to jump into the Premier League at 20. He got a lot of praise. He's been mentioned by Rio Ferdinand actually, a lot of praise. Obviously, Rio Ferdinand has got his own. He does like his own streams as well on his podcast. But he said, he Rio Ferdinand's views on Smith is he is the guy, and he's the one he's saying that he would get, and he would give everything they want. So in terms of what he says, this is what Rio Ferdinand's view is, and Rio Ferdinand's going to have a better idea about football players than
We
most of the people I see. But so he's got technique under pressure, can take it deeper on the back line in the 8 or the 10. So and he's taught a press, he's comfortable in that. So a lot of high praise from Rio Ferdinand, and he is linked to Manchester United. So, but albeit from like some journalists talking about it. But I think Keith Smith is maybe one to maybe look out for, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Man United are going to have. Uh, I don't think we're going to be going for players that age, and that maybe it's Barcelona that's going to go to. So Danny says Smith wants Barcelona. Yeah, he is. He's been talked about regarding Barcelona and Barcelona and Real Madrid. So yeah, that's probably the situation regarding that one. Okay, before we wrap up, I did say we'll do the poll, and this is the result. It's um, it's maybe let's have a look. It was quite close. At one point, it was like 35% for the top result. But best centre back option, and Murillo gets 25%, Senesi gets 25%, and Van Hecke gets 50% of the vote. So at one point, it was like 35% for Senesi. I think was like leading to start with, but no. So I guess in that one, it feels like a mid-range signing in terms of £35 million. Then people feel like he's a better football player than Senesi, but Murillo may be a bit expensive. So no, few options on the table though, so worth considering these ones as well. Say Rio's just a Glazer PR machine. To be honest, I see. I think Rio Ferdinand is one of the people that is usually Rio Ferdinand's usually more positive. I think you'd say that. So Roy Keane's obviously negative. I think Rio Ferdinand's generally a bit more positive, but I think Rio Ferdinand actually speaks to players, doesn't he? So if Rio Ferdinand is interviewing football players and speaking to them a lot more, he obviously can't then be insulting them and pushing out negative stuff. So otherwise, he's not going to get people speaking to him. So Rio Ferdinand is generally a bit more positive regarding that one. Do I think they announce Carrick by Monday? I think it's on the cards for. I think it's going to be quite soon, isn't it? So what I'll do is I'll go for a few comments for 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap up. I'm not sure if there'll be any stream tonight. It might be a night off for United TV and myself, but we will be back obviously tomorrow. With looking forward to the game. But I'll say reportedly, say Carrick has got a clause in his contract. I don't think Carrick's even signed a contract yet, Jim. I don't know. What's the source for that, or where has that been read? Because I don't think that Michael Carrick's actually signed his contract yet, has he? That it hasn't been officially announced as far as I know. So I don't know. But if he's out of the top four after 10 games, they can sack him without pay. So Jim, honestly, I don't think that there's been anything actually announced with the contract situation. So I'm not sure. I'd be very surprised if Manchester United or Michael Carrick are going to leak the details of his contract when he does sign it. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that it might be getting done quite quickly, but I haven't seen anything announced, and I don't think they would. I don't think they would be. I can't imagine that they would be releasing any details, Jim. So I don't know where you've seen it, but I'd be a bit. I'd be a little bit. What's the word? Skeptical about information coming out. Like who signs a contract and releases the information of the contract? Like that. That's not something I see happening. I mean, if you did that though, it would be if you did that, it'd be I don't know, it'd be weird, wouldn't it? Can you imagine signing a contract at Chelsea not getting a payout? Because maybe what they need to look at is maybe the salaries of football managers need to be a bit lower or something if you're going to get massive payouts. But maybe they need to structure it a bit. So if you sign a 4 or 5 year deal, maybe you only get maybe you only get a payout for an extra year. Because I think if you I was talking to actually who was I talking to? Either my daughter or my wife, just saying that effectively, if you're a football manager and you're terrible, but you somehow manage to keep getting jobs, you're effectively getting paid a huge amount of money. So I think you have to look at it and say that if you're, if you're going to get, like, I don't see Carrick signing up to that either, because you could look at it and say there's 5 teams, they all have loads of money. Yeah, someone's going to come out of the top four at some point, and then yeah, he blocked Indy everywhere. Sometimes I use them as a reference, but not very often. They pushed out a story recently that said, what was the story they said? They tried to say that Umbrella was going to be sold or something. Yeah, I think you just have to look at information and then go, right. Sometimes we'll do information on the channel and go, let's have a look at it and go right. So with indie, if someone's like actually following them, maybe you should make a list of the things they say, and then see how many come true. Because I would say that if you look at it, when the transfer window kicks on and really gets going, you can probably look at sources and go right. Ornstein will report stuff after it's happened, so you won't really learn anything from him. Fabrizio will say the same thing for about 2 months, but he'll be ambiguous. And Ben Jacobs is usually quite ambiguous as well and doesn't give you lots of information. But you can look at them all in conjunction. There are some people like I think Jan Fjortov was quite good on Sesko information. And again, you can kind of like read through the lines and work out what they're trying to do. But you have to wait for things to happen, don't you? I mean, a lot of football content is probably just discussing what you think is going to happen because no one knows absolutely for sure. I say Austin got paid a fortune to give IndyCar the thumbs up last year. Do you reckon, Yoli? A welcome United Devil channel as well. Thank you for getting involved, JB. Appreciate that. Says Delit worries you. This is his last chance and has to be his last chance. And say no more passengers. I don't know your views on a lot of football players, JB, but what's your thoughts on Lissandro Martinez? Like, is Lissandro Martinez in the same criteria? Because I kind of my view was of Lisandro Martinez is I said before he got injured last time that I would probably move him on and get someone I thought would be like they could do what he did, but also not have the. I think sometimes it's not just injury issues. Sometimes he's a bit erratic, and I think he's like no, he's a good player, but I don't think he's the best player we could get at centre back. But you have to get someone better before you replace him. But with Delit, I've been saying like a few times during the stream with Delit, I've just questioned whether where we're going to see him play to the sort of level we saw early on in the season at all. And so I truly hope the Glazers will allow, say, 5 or 6 buys and even more sales. If we don't sell well, this squad will fail next season, says RK. I think there's a few players that Man United have. They're going to move on, aren't they? That if Agate's here next season, is he going to be watching from the stand? Like I don't think Agate's getting in this team. If Agate gets back in this team, we haven't rebuilt midfield, have we? Um, Lucky says our fans don't watch it. I don't know, Lucky. I think people watch different games, like don't they? A lot of people watch different football matches, not just the Premier League. I sometimes watch other games. Like I think I don't watch loads of Premier League because obviously there's a lot of football and they spread it out too much. But I do watch sometimes some teams. Sometimes it's worth having a look at how teams are playing just to see what people are hyping them up. Why would he not agree to the contract? I guess because some things are out of his hands a bit, aren't they? Say, I love Lissandro, but he's in the same boat. Has to go if he can't stay fit. Yeah, I think it's the final chance for the butcher as well. And what was it someone called him? They changed his name from the butcher to the barber, didn't they? Yeah, no, I think with this one, but yeah, also for JB, I'm also from Wales, but obviously I don't have a Welsh accent either, so people don't believe I'm from Wales. It's an interesting fact. So I did a preview on the Spurs channel a couple of years ago, and they thought I was from Surrey for some reason. I have no idea what a Surrey accent is. I've never been there. Um, how many final chances do our players need? Do you know? Do you ever like have yeah, do you ever like if you're in university and when you like do a final report, you have like a final report, and then you realize you need to amend something, so you go right now it's going to be like a final report, and then you like go right, okay, I need to amend something again, so it's like a final underscore two report. I think with this one, do you think? I think to be fair to Delit's only been at the club for a couple of years, so I think Delit can have a final chance. I think with Lissandro Martinez, he's under contract. They're both in the same boat as well. That you can't sell a player that's been out injured, can you? So you have to then go right. He's going to be a player next season. Let's see what he does. Okay, so I think with Lissandro Martinez, there was rumours that you could sell him, or that was going to be an offer from Barcelona. But you can't sell him, can you? You can't sell a player that's been out injured for most of the season. So then you have to look at it and go. The question is going to be for some of these players is: do you sell him quite cheap if he has no, if he gets injury free, or do you look at just letting the contract run down and not extending it? If you think right, we can't sell this player, then there's no point extending the contract and hoping you can sell him. You probably just let the contract run down. But I think with this Bilal, I think it's okay for Delit to be on his last chance because, like I said, it's injury issues and we don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, a few things like this one, a bit unforeseen circumstances, to be honest. I think with that one, unforeseen circumstances. Mazraoui not for sale. I don't think Man United are going to buy a right back. So for that reason, I'd say probably not for sale. That I don't think Mazraoui is going to be for sale. Um, which again, he was quite good as centre back against Chelsea, wasn't he? He did okay there. Would I remove the number 7 shirt from Mason Mount? I would never have given Mason Mount the number 7 shirt. Um, so take it, give it to Mainoo. Do you know what? We had a conversation yesterday about. I think it was live. It could have been with guests after, but we had a conversation, and it was like, who would we give Mason? Who would you give the number 7 shirt to in the club? And I don't know if it feels like you've got to earn the number 7 shirt. and you got to deserve it. And I don't know, Cunha's only been in the club for a year. He would be the most likely candidate for me. Kobe Mainoo's just turned 21. That you know, would you give somebody the say the number seven, the main shirt? Would you give someone the number seven shirt now? Because you got to think like someone that's going to be a leader of your team, like Brian Robson, like Eric Cantona, Bex, and George Best. I think you need to have someone that's been like performing. Either they're going to be like world class, outrageous talent to start with, or it's going to be someone that deserves it as well. So it's really difficult for me to hand the number seven shirt to anyone in the team at the moment. But I would not have given it to Mason Mount at all. That was a bizarre decision. What give Mbappe the number seven? I don't know. You could give Mbappe the number 11 maybe, and he could be on that side. Maybe give him the number 11, but no, number seven. I don't know. It's got to be like a generational player, isn't it? If Kobe Mainoo starts developing the way that I think when we bought Brian Robson already played at a high level already for West Brom, and he already was a good player. So I think you need to have a very high standard for number seven. Like that's what it should be for me, a very high standard. So it could be that Mainu could be a number seven, like the number seven in future, but I think he's got to earn it. Like if he starts becoming like the first name on the team sheet and starts becoming the leader of our team, then I'd be like, yeah, okay, he could get that. But um, no, exactly. You can't do that, Cake. You can't do that. But well, you could, I suppose, but it'd be a bit weird. No, I don't think there's a player in the club that's going to be number seven at the moment. If Cunha had a massive year next season, I think he's probably the him and Mainu would be the two I'd consider. But I think that there's a bit of what you call it, what's the like Cantona's a bit of a maverick. I see a bit of that in Cunha sometimes. I think he's got the ability. He's kind of got the swagger. If he can do it like week in week out and start being a bit of a leader in the team as well, I could see Cunha being maybe that guy. But there's a lot of it's a difficult one, isn't it? Like really difficult one. No, you can't retire the number seven shirt. It's kind of iconic, isn't it? Like you don't retire that cake. We're literally on the same wavelength, weirdly and say the number seven should never be retired. It's an iconic thing, isn't it? It's something that if you saw the Kobe Manu interview yesterday on Sky, and Kobe Manu's talking about in the academy, you're looking at the legends, and that's kind of it, isn't it? You get the weight of the shirt, you get the number seven. It's something that you aspire to, something that you try and achieve. So, no, I think you'd have to look at it and say that when you have players come through the team that are become like legends. Like if Cristiano Ronaldo had stayed longer, he'd be more of a club legend. But he was a great player when he was here. But I think when you think of like number seven, for me, it's like Brian Robson, someone like Beckham, like Eric Cantona, maybe the generation in the '90s. But you have these sort of leaders in the team, so they've got to be maybe one of your best players, but also one of your most important players. So and we can't have like Mason Mount wearing the number seven. That's just ridiculous, isn't it? Um, JJ Gabriel as a future number seven. Maybe I think with JJ Gabriel, he's it's just I don't know. It's quite early, isn't it, to say that he seems like he could potentially be something quite special, but I wouldn't want to overhype him. I think there's so much for him to do so far. His level's above a lot of people his the same age, but there's lots of work he needs to do in his career to get to where he needs to be. If he's got the right motivation, if he's got the mindset of like a Cristiano Ronaldo, he could go, he could go to the top. But it's such a long way, isn't it, to see this one? Really difficult. So yeah, it's kind of nice that Grace likes Dallo. I mean, it's nice that Dallo's got a fan because Dallo gets a lot of stick from everybody else. So it's nice that someone supports him. Now, if anyone's got any final questions today, I think we covered most of the chat. So it looks like if you're talking about who Man United would sign as a defensive option, it seems like Van Hecke at Brighton gets the most love from the chat today. Um, I'm kind of open-minded about this. I don't know what Man United would be looking to spend on defensive options, but it seems that at the moment I'm a bit concerned that I get the feeling United might just try and No, I think Man United might just try and get by with what we got. That's what I'm thinking. I saw a story probably about a month ago that said Man United feel the centre back cover is enough, and people did say, okay, you've got some emergency options which I don't like Mazraoui or Luke Shaw, and people talked about Fredrickson, which we've not seen much of. But I get the feeling that United might want to try and push this down to next season. But yeah, and Gravy says I don't like it when starters were very high numbers. I don't think we got crazy high numbers, have we? I'm just trying to think. That I think them. I don't think we got loads of high numbers in our team, but I think United should be. Well, when you're talking about this one, what's the plans for the channel of the World Cup? I'm not sure 100% at the moment. I'll be working. I'll work on something, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, what time are the games? I'll have to be realistic and see what time the games are. But I'm just trying to think what I can do. There might be some practical considerations depending on when kickoffs are. But I remember the World Cup in 1994 and games weren't crazy then. So maybe it's different this time, but games weren't too crazy in that one. I think the latest kickoff then was like 11. But if they're going to take the piss, we'll have to think about what we can do. Yeah, I'll have to see. I think the group stage might be quite crazy. I think with a lot of competitions, generally when you get to the knockout stages, maybe the time zones will be a bit more conducive to like a world audience, hopefully. But the group games, there might be some that are going to be very, very difficult as well. I say Lammers needs a number one jersey, not 31. Well, I think when they get rid of the Deadwood goalkeepers, then I think with this one it's like squad numbers. We had a conversation yesterday where Ryan Giggs, we went through the numbers he played, and he played in the number I think seven in one season, like 92, 93 or something like that. So yeah, until you get cemented into the team, that I don't you're not going to take numbers off other people. You're just going to be gradually replacing them as well. Yeah. Don't forget, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Otherwise, you know, otherwise you might end up having Agate and Xerxes staying. So I do say that as well. So if you don't subscribe, Anana returns to Man United. Imagine that. Don't forget to click the like as well. Otherwise, buy and deal will be the other one as well. Has anyone got any final questions? So you probably need to partner with someone with suitable time zone. Maybe we can see Cody. We can have a look what what happens regarding that one. Who knows? I think the main thing is that we're probably focused on Manchester United stuff at the moment while we try and grow the channel back up and see how it goes. But I think that's going to be the main thing. And some games start at let's just have a quick check at this. So kickoff times in World Cup, you've got 5 p.m., which is obviously fine. 6 p.m. What's the other bit? Say 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. Oh, 5 a.m. is like ridiculous, isn't it? Like 3 a.m. is ridiculous as well. 5 a.m. It depends what the game is then. It depends what the game is. If 5 a.m. is like, I don't know if 5 a.m. is like some minnows, I don't know. I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. Um, I mean, I don't really want to go to bed at 5 a.m. either. So I might have to see what's happening regarding that one. Yeah, I'm guessing that I hope they've got some like. It depends whether the games are, aren't they? But obviously, we'll cover I did think we could cover most of them, but maybe we won't. We'll have to see what happens. Hey, big up to you. It is Mo, isn't it? Broken verdict. Big up to you in the chat. Um, yeah, I don't dislike Blind Deer. So England games at reasonable time. So was this Tunisia versus Japan at 5 a.m. Yeah, it's going to be a struggle to like get up at 5 a.m. to watch Tunisia versus Japan. I'm not gonna pretend it's going to be high on my list of things to do. I don't know. Maybe there's so many teams, so many games. Maybe the answer is I don't know at the moment. There's a lot to consider. That I'm not sure whether I'll just do Man United stuff or do lots of World Cup stuff or a mixture of both. I have no idea, to be honest. Yeah, where do you watch from Broken Verdict? I don't know which country you're based in. So I know there's a few people that watch from different countries, and maybe like it's different time zones. I know a lot of people watch from the US, so they might tune in if we did something crazy at night. But I think that most of the UK people would be asleep at that point. But no, maybe we'll find out if we start streaming at 2 a.m. We'll find out which people are actually awake at that sort of time. Oh, United Kingdom, London. Okay. No, I do know like a couple of people in the US, but I'm not sure if they would be doing like watch-alongs or something. Yeah, it's the FA Cup final, isn't it? So I might disappear off and watch a little bit of that. How about do a repeat of games watch-alongs? I don't know. How could you do that? A repeat of watch-alongs? Do you mean you're watching the boring game today, Gregory? If it's really boring, don't watch it. Like don't watch Chelsea versus City if you don't like those teams. You don't have to watch it, Gregory. You can you can do something else, like do something else for your free time. We need a snack review series after the success of the chocolate eclair one you did. Sometimes I worry that people will tune into the channel. They'll see a couple of comments and think, "What is going on?" Um, yeah, one thing I'd say is like, don't do streams when you're hungry because otherwise the stream might go too long and you might get very starving. But no, it was a nice eclair. I did enjoy that, and it was a good survey we did on Rebels as well. Oh, you mean watch games during the day? Oh, you mean like do a watch long for a game after it's finished and go, I don't know, it might be a tough one to do. How do you do that exactly? Because the game, like, are we going to just how do we rewatch a game I can't actually show on TV on the screen? Um, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with that one because I thought it would be quite a nice story that the last time it happened was Alex Ferguson Aberdeen, and I can't remember exactly which year that was, but it must have been like early 80s, I'm guessing mid 80s. But no, I thought Hearts were going to do it, and I thought that was going to be I don't know, I thought it was going to be something that it'd be quite like a generational thing, but no, Celtic got it done. Maybe that's the only time it's going to happen. Like maybe we're going to have to watch another 30 years before it happens again. I'm a bit disappointed. All I'll say is that I'm pretty sure, like, with Isabella, if you have no chocolate today, you've only got yourself to blame. It's like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You could have definitely gone out and bought some if you wanted to. I would say tell people not to use social media or watch news. No, if you're on Discord, then the Discord link is pinned at at the top of the channel. Please get involved in the Discord if you want to get involved with the community a bit more. There's about 80 people in the Discord at the moment, and say relegating Spurs would be nice, but honestly, I don't care. Of West Ham getting relegated gives us Fernandes at 50. I would take that. Seeing Liverpool getting absolutely ripped apart was beautiful. It was a nice thing to see, wasn't it? And I think it just goes to show as well that Liverpool have got massive problems in like all aspects of their team. They're conceding a lot of goals, lots of things are going wrong. I hope Slot stays because Liverpool have got it wrong. They spent a huge amount of money and they've lost a few players that are really damaging their team. So that's always positive, I think. Have I tried Huel as a meal substitute? No, I haven't, Gregory. I haven't. I've seen it massively advertised on a Man United fan channel. And I have seen like a lot of adverts for it, but what is it like? Isn't it like blended pea protein or something? I don't know. I like eating normal food, so I just like eating. I've got a lot of food in the house as a someone that enjoys food. So no, I've never tried a meal substitute. So after a 25-mile bike ride and 2 hours at the gym, chocolate didn't feel right. That's a decent bike ride, to be fair. That's not bad. I used to work with somebody that used to drive from where he lived, park about 30 miles from work, and then cycle like 30 miles in and 30 miles out every day. He was doing like crazy distance. I think he was a bit too into cycling for me as well. Pure is the thickest chocolate drink you can imagine. I don't know. Do you like it, Gregory? I don't know what to think. I'm always skeptical about things that are promoted as being like meal substitutes. It's got this in it. It's got that in it. I don't know. Sometimes your body doesn't process things in the same way if it doesn't come from a natural source. So I think blended pea protein doesn't sound quite as appetizing as if it comes from the plant, eat it. If it's made in the plant, run. You avoid any drinks except water. I don't know. Don't you feel like Dabasis, don't you feel that like your water might be a bit nicer if you like grind some coffee into it? I drink a lot of water, but usually I boil it and then pour it through coffee before I drink it, which I quite like. Okay, guys, I think we've covered all the stuff. If you just joined at the end, then feel free to watch maybe like the first sort of 20, 30 minutes of the stream because it's got all the information, all the talk about the lit, all the news about what's happening, and background story and stuff as well. And but thanks for watching. Thanks people for super chats. Big thanks to Modern Samurai for um for the gifted memberships as well. Huel is wretched, says Malps. I'm not sponsored by Huel, so I don't really, and I've never tried it, so I don't know. Um, you don't like Huel because Gary Neville promotes it. Um, do you like it, Gregory? I've never tried it. It will fill you up, says Gregory. A good Monster Energy just to feel alive for a bit. uh, the thing is that when you see what's in it, you just think, I don't know how much I'd want to drink of that stuff, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if the channel got ever sponsored by something, that would be quite fun. I wish we get sponsored by a drink or something. We could just go. It felt a bit like have you ever seen? Has anybody seen Talladega Nights when they do like the advertising promos that they do with NASCAR stuff? If you ever see that film, can you imagine doing that on the channel where you just go, you have a question, go, what do you think of this player? Go, well, usually when I'm considering defensive options, I like to relax with a nice glass of Monster Energy. That'd be good. Might as well drink a piece of sugar. It helps. If the advertising company, if that's what they want, that's what they want. To be honest, I could just get a can of Monster, pour it away, and fill it with water, and do the same thing as well. No, but anyway, big up to United Devils. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. So YouTube sucks. Let's get your numbers. Yeah, if you're watching and you haven't watched before, make sure you subscribe, guys. Make sure you subscribe. Check out United Devil channel as well. And maybe a collaboration in the future with other channels will be something worth doing as well. But no, I'm not promoting. I'll say this: I'm not promoting any drinks unless someone gives me some cash. But I do like coffee. Obviously, I don't get any I don't get any kickbacks, unfortunately, from coffee. I have the occasional Lucozade. Yeah, I have Lucozade for like the orangey one with the wrapping, but only if I'm ill. And I think that's a nostalgic thing from when I was little. Where you go, oh, I don't feel too good. Get some Lucozade if you can't eat too much as well. Now, big up to United Devil channel. Thank you so much for the super chat. And for people that want to watch the Asterix FA Cup of two teams that were very skeptical about whether they actually run in a legit way, yeah, let me know because at the moment I'm kind of just trying to do a regular schedule, but no, we can do something like that as well for sure. That's a lot of garlic. That's a lot of veg. An awful lot of veg. Is this one sitting? Like 200 grams of chickpeas, spaghetti, one carrot. This sounds like an interesting recipe. Let's talk about the dangers of energy drinks next stream. Yeah, I think that to be honest, most of it will be like very focused on football stuff, just to make sure YouTube knows what the channel's about. So you've run out of milk or coffee. You've run out of milk for coffee, so you're drinking a Huel instead. I'd rather have a coffee. Oh dear. Oh dear. I think this is like I think it's Gregory. I think it's just poor planning. Like if you run out of milk, that's just poor planning. That it's the same way as when you look at it. Like you need to plan bet more effectively. Like this is the sort of thing that the Glazers do, yeah, where they don't plan for the next season. But I think if I run out of milk, it's not a crisis, but it's something that shouldn't happen. Like I should, as an adult, I should know, and I should make sure this doesn't happen. But no, big up to people in the chat, and thank you so much for super chats today. Really appreciate it. We're going to be live tomorrow, hopefully quite early for the game. Maybe something at full time we'll be doing as well. I'm not sure if we'll do anything during the match. That's a bit, yeah, we're not sure. I'm not sure. Enzo audition from Madrid. Um, to be honest, actually, if Enzo Fernandez went to Real Madrid and Rodri got announced as signing his contract, I would start pushing the Anderson hype, maybe. But until that happens, we'll have to see. It's going to be a domino effect, and I think Man United are just going to be. We're probably not going to be getting deals done rapidly, but I think we will hopefully hope if we haven't got one or two good targets in before the World Cup, then I think people will start panicking a bit. But saying, guys, enjoy the FA Cup final if you're watching it, and there may be something. I might possibly do something tonight, but I think I might just be taking a night off. But big up to you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. As always, like subscribe if you can, share the stream if you can, and click like if you can. And it will hopefully help us grow back up to 1K again soon. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next.